I'm Jack Draper. Shout out to QualityShot Tennis.
Daniel Medvedev won his third consecutive title in just as many weeks. His 14th straight victory, beating Andrei Rublev in straight sets in Dubai. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about Medvedev and whether he's back to his best. And on top of that, we're going to look as well at how he's been playing and why there's been a big turnaround in the last few weeks. Before we get into it, though, remember that like button and do subscribe if you are new. Thank you very much to everyone that is a member, of course, and really does help us out a great deal. And also leave a rating or review if you're listening on a podcast platform. Let's get into this then. So for Daniel Medvedev, it's been a real turnaround in the last few weeks, and he's won, as I said, 14 matches in a row. And the last time he lost, was to Sebastian Korda in Australia. And when he lost to him, it looked like it was going to be a potentially turbulent 2023 after a pretty adverse 2022. He didn't look particularly good straight after losing to Nadal in the Australian Open 2022 final. Since that point, he just struggled a great deal. Let's be honest. And I think there was a mental aspect because of that loss, and also the fact that there were some off-court issues as well. But generally, we know that he has an incredible amount of talent, and it's just a case of, is he going to be able to hone that talent again and pretty quickly? And it looks like that's going to be the case here. And he's definitely coming to his own. That's for sure. Now, against Sebastian Korda, there are massive question marks around his return position, around his ball striking ability. Korda was actually managing to win rallies from the back of the court against Medvedev and have more quality in those exchanges, be more consistent in those exchanges, and also take advantage of, as I said, the return position of Medvedev. He's so deep in the return position, and he was a bit one-dimensional, I think, in his returning. Now, Medvedev in the last few weeks has improved dramatically in a few aspects, and it might be confidence might be playing a part, but also might mean some tweaks to his game as well. So let's have a discussion about it. So number one is how willing he is to go bigger on the forehand. His forehand has never been seen as a booming, powerful weapon of a strike or a shot. We're not comparing it to a Del Potro or a Roger Federer forehand or a Nadal forehand or now a Djokovic forehand. But in the last few weeks, it has been that good. It's been the type of forehand that, you would watch and think, okay, that player has a dominant forehand and he's looking to dictate proceedings. In the past, it was, he'd even run around the forehand and a backhand at times. His backhand is so solid, but he's looking to be more aggressive on the forehand, and it's paid dividends because he's been striking the ball a lot more cleanly than I've seen in the past. And I think the passive type of tennis that he's maybe played in the past is all well and good if you're able to grind it out against specific and certain opponents, but you need to have different layers to your game. And I think what Medvedev is doing at the moment is showing that. Number two is his serve. I think he's been serving a lot better. I think one, he's been hitting his spots better, and two, I think he's just been a bit more. I think obviously confidence is a massive thing. Confidence is a huge thing on serve, no doubt, right? And if you look at his serve, it's the type of shot that I would say when it's firing, it's incredibly tough to combat, especially the fact that he plays the point so quickly. He can get through a service game in the space of about 40 seconds because once he feels like he is playing well and serving well, he just wants to get through it quickly. He's like, okay, I'm in the groove. I don't want to lose any momentum, any rhythm. Let's keep going. And it really does work for him. It does. And he played some really quick points against Novak Djokovic in the semi-final when he won in straight sets. That was really, really impressive. And, there was clinical serving. It really was. I have to say that for me, Daniel Medvedev is arguably... in my eyes, he was always a top five server on tour. And my top 5, by the way, servers on tour in the past, I would say they were Opelka, Isner, Kyrgios, Medvedev, and Berrettini. Those are my top 5. I think Djokovic now has a real claim to be in that, and potentially Hurkacz as well. Felix was in there a little bit, I would say, in the past year or so, but he's dropped off a little bit in the last few months. But yeah, he's there or thereabouts. He's definitely top 5 in my books anyway. Medvedev, that is. So massive positive. He's found his mojo back on his serve. He's hitting his spots. I think his serve did slow down a fair bit last year at some point. And I wonder whether it was to do with an injury. I know he was injured for part of last year, so that could have been part of it. But great to see him back, really firing it down. And he has great variation on that serve as well. Hits his spots, really goes close to the lines. Has slice, topspin, flat. And it seems like it's pretty hard to read at times. And I guess it's even harder to read when he's playing as quickly as he does. So those are the first 2 points. The third point for me is the drop shot. Now, it's not really something that he's had in his arsenal at all until relatively recently. I think that's been really good to see. I think the backhand slice drop shot for me is something he should be adding to his game, because what he's doing currently is he's not always the one on the back foot. He's not always the one 2-3 meters behind the baseline. He's actually trying to dictate proceedings at times when he can. And what that means is that he's going to get more opportunities to not only utilize the width of the court, but the length of the court as well. So that means not only utilizing angles and trying to move your opponent side to side, but also trying to drag them forward or backwards, depending on what you want to do. And the drop shot is a great asset, I think, for him. If he's able to hone that skill and really utilize it in the right moments, I don't see why it can't be a fantastic addition to his game. And I think he's utilized it correctly at the correct times. Didn't really use against Djokovic, which I can understand. And, Djokovic is very good at reading it. And I don't think he really gave him a huge amount of opportunity to do so. He wasn't necessarily particularly far behind the baseline Djokovic. He was trying to take the ball early, be aggressive. So that's fine. But in terms of volleying as well, and I guess this point is not just about drop shots, but maybe the forecourt and net play. He's also trying to come forward as well, which is good. So he's still not the most natural at the net, I have to say. But the big positive for him is that he is, in my opinion, getting better. He is. I can see improvements. I can see him being more relaxed at the net, a lot looser with the way that he's gripping the racket, a lot more composed. He's still not where he should be, and he's still nowhere near, the top volleyers on tour, but he's getting there, and it's a nice addition to his game. So that's 3 points, if I'm not mistaken. Now, number 4 is the return position and the return quality and how he's been returning generally and what he's done to try and combat the serve volley. Now, because of the deep return position, there's always going to be some sort of susceptibility to the serve volley, but especially when they go out wide, of course, because they drag him out. Now, what he's done is pretty clever, though. He's added different types of returns to his repertoire. Before, if he got dragged out wide, it was like, okay, just try and hit it as hard as possible, either at the opponent or cross court at an angle if I've got enough time. What he does now is he's added different types of returns and makes the server think twice before coming in behind the serve. So one is the floated block return down the line on the forehand side, for example. Let's just focus on the juice side, and that's been pretty damn effective, in all honesty, for Medvedev, and it does also make volleys pretty awkward at times for the server and the opponent. And it's just a nice variation to have, especially if it drops into the backhand corner. Then that's great, because for him, he's going to get a backhand in response to his return. And most likely, whoever he's playing against, their backhand isn't going to be as hurtful or as potent as their forehand. He'll also have more time as well if he hits that block return to get back into a decent position to then get into the rally rather than being out of position. If someone serves volleys, he's on the run, he's on the stretch, he's on the move, and it's not as easy, of course, than to get to neutral from that point. So that's a good addition. I think what he's also done is he's just said, look, I'm going to maybe not necessarily go down the middle of the court as much on the returns. I'm going to try and hit angles when possible. And that leads me on to number 5. And I think that this is all to do with direction. I think in the past, he's been pretty happy to go down the middle of the court and grind with opponents and really just outlast them physically. I think he's trying to add to his game and be a bit more proactive and have a bit more meaning with every shot. I can see that he's trying to use direction and angles more on the court to his advantage, and it's definitely working. It is. I wouldn't say that he's the number one in the world at doing that and manipulating your opponent and really utilizing the court space as much as possible and stretching opponents out. But again, it's a work in progress. It's an improvement. Okay, so those are my 5 points. Let me just quickly share then tennis insights from the final against Rublev. You can see here, really, really impressive from Medvedev. 8.8 out of 10 on serve. I mean, that's very, very good. 9.5 on return, which is exceptional. It really is. I mean, fantastic from him. 8.6 on the forehand, 8.5 on the backhand. So that's extremely solid. I mean, not just solid, but just amazing numbers, honestly, all round from Medvedev. And, this just proves, I think, that he is in a hot streak of form, isn't he? He really is. I mean, he's been cleaning up left, right, and centre 3 weeks in a row. He's picked up trophies, picked up titles. He's beaten Djokovic. He's beaten Rublev. He's beaten Felix Auger-Aliassime twice. It's been very, very good. Now, the real question is, can he translate this form to the rest of the year? And interestingly, we've got Indian Wells and Miami coming up, so we're going to see how he fares in the Sunshine Double. His results haven't been fantastic in the last few years, and it's a very physical couple of tournaments. It'll be intriguing to see how he does get on and if he's able to carry through this form, given that it's going to be a bit of travel to Indian Wells, and then he most likely will have a few days rest, and then we'll be able to start off his campaign there. He will go into one of the favorites, but in saying that, it'll be a real test, I think, of not just his character, but his skill set. And it's great to see him trying to improve his game. That's great. And I think it'll put him in good stead longer term. Then we've also got the clay court swing if you're looking a bit further on. And, the type of tennis that he's trying to play will actually help him, I think, in the clay court swing. I'm not saying he's going to win the French Open, but I think he's going to be okay. I think he's going to be pretty good in the clay court swing. I don't think he's going to win any titles, but I think he might make a couple of semis, some quarters, etc. I think he'll be okay in that sense. And then you have Wimbledon and the US Open. Now, the big question mark's going to be around Wimbledon. Is he going to be allowed to play? If he's not, then it's a bit of a nightmare because, I think his game actually is relatively suited to the grass. I know there's some areas that he needs improvement, but generally, I think he likes the low bouncing quick surfaces. And of course, Wimbledon and the grass is that. So anyways, Daniil Medvedev in fantastic form. Great to see him back. And as I said in the past and have said earlier in this video, we want to see as many people playing really good tennis and then competing at the top of the game. We don't want to see just 2 or 3 people. And we've had that, and that's been incredible, that era of Federer, Djokovic, Nadal. Now, though, I think we're slowly coming into a different kind of dynamic. Djokovic is still at the top, of course, which is fantastic. And you've also got Nadal, who's going to challenge for Roland Garros. He's going to be there or thereabouts for that. Other tournaments remains to be seen. He's not on the greatest of form, but everyone else seems to be slowly stepping up, which is what we need, because you want to see fantastic matches. And Medvedev beating Djokovic in the semis of this tournament was a real real like positive. And an interesting stat, he's actually 5-3 against Djokovic when Djokovic has been world number one, but 0-6 when Djokovic is ranked anywhere that isn't world number one. So he's 0-6 when Djokovic isn't world number one, which is so weird. So he said in his post-match press conference that he's hoping that that Djokovic will continue to be world number one when he plays him, because he seems to have a better record against him then. So we'll see how that one pans out for him anyways. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Remember to hit that like button, do subscribe if you're new, and let me know your thoughts on Medvedev as well. Are you happy to see him back on court? What do you think of his style of tennis and how he's been playing recently? Is there a difference? And if so, are you more excited to watch him play, or actually you prefer how he used to play? And how do you think he's going to fare in the Sunshine Double? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well. See you on the next video.